How you doing tonight? I just thought I'd do a pop-up chat. Got nothing going on. Brewers game is done. I'm sitting around kind of here in the office and in the studio doing some social media stuff. Starting to storm again outside. I thought, you know what? Let's kick the lights down a little bit. Got a beverage in hand and let's chat for whomever would like to chime in. That's it. So if you've got something tonight, just bring it. Want to hear from you. Would love to. As we're going to watch, hopefully, the meters begin to climb and we start to see 1 or 2 or 10 or 50 or 500 people begin to chime in. But like I said, nothing going on tonight, so I thought let's sit down and say hi. Jay, what's happening, man? And this is not on all of our major platforms like we usually do. This is certainly not going out over the air. So this is all just us, just us. Angela, what's happening? Craig, happy about the Brewers Day today. I agree. Good to see him get 2 wins and in that fashion. Sacrifice bunt, not even really a suicide bunt, although they were going pretty much on contact. But it was great to see him get their second one in a row. They get an off day tomorrow. Then the Reds come to town this coming weekend. So excited about that. But like I said, nothing going on tonight. So I thought, you know what? Let's open it up. And as more and more people begin to come in and join us kind of in the hall here, it's funny because I thought, do we do this segment? Do we call it something? Is it, kind of hokey? So I just thought, you and me, that's it. Unit and you, that's it. So whatever you got tonight, whatever you want to ask. By the way, I do have the text line open. So if you want to text, you can. If you're watching and you don't want to, scroll on the screen, you can also text 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670, but ask anything tonight. We'll just kind of chat and see what's happening. Hopefully the weather is good. I know there was actually some, hey Tracy, what's going on? How do I think the Packers, Jay wants to know how I think the Packers are going to hold up against the Vikings with what they did this offseason. Honestly, right now there is nothing that would tell me that the Packers are better than the Vikings than what they were last year, other than the fact that it's J.J. McCarthy under center. That's it. Gut feeling on the Packers' first pick. Marcus, all indications are they're looking at a wide receiver. So my gut reaction tells me they won't take a wide receiver. Unfortunately. So it could be an offensive lineman, could be a big tackle, or just best available, depending on who that happens to be. And by the way, and you don't have to ask anything sports related if you don't want to. We can chat about anything. Ryan says, is there a chance the Bucs can make it out of the first round without Dame, but getting Bobby back? I think maybe. But Giannis would have to play like at some kind of crazy elevation level for that entire series for them to win it. How many wins do I think the Packers are going to get this year? I'm going to say 9. Normally I start out at like 10 or 11 and work from there. But right now, the way the team sits, I'm going to say 9. Tougher schedule. They haven't done a lot to get better. They're hoping on guys just getting better. But I don't put a lot of stock into hope. You know what I mean? Not when teams around you granted, the Vikings only have 4 draft choices, so the Vikings had to go out and get themselves better through free agency. But getting completely healthy in Detroit, defensively speaking, plus getting better in the secondary of the defense, I think it's going to be problematic for the Packers. Who do you think is the most important to take the next step this year from Charlie when it comes to the Packers? Who currently on the roster would make the biggest impact if they did? Lucas Van Ness or Rashawn Gary or the combination thereof. That's it. Rob Dog, any advice on what I do since the girl that I really like is a Cubs fan, but she says she can't stand to date a Bears fan in Wisconsin, or says she can't date a Bears fan in Wisconsin. Well, then talk politics. I mean, if she likes you, put it this way. I know people that are married. One's a Bears fan, one's a Packers fan. I know people that are married. One's a Cubs fan, and the other one's a White Sox fan. What do they say? Love overcomes all. You know, and if the sex is good, turn it to Big Bang Theory. Do you think the Packers offseason is a failure so far with what the rest of the division has done? I think it is slow and steady and cautious. I don't know about a failure, but I think it's slow and steady and cautious. And I don't know if cautious is a good thing this particular offseason. I look, and I'm honest about it on the show. I'm honest about it here. I think the Packers are right now on the same level with the Bears. I think the Bears got a little bit better. I just don't know what to expect out of Ben Johnson. What we as Packers fans are hoping for is just the team to get better from within. How many times have we talked about that and it just doesn't? You know what I mean? If there's a reason the saying in the NFL is if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And I don't know how much better the Packers genuinely got. Are we going to be at the draft in Green Bay? I really want to. I know there's going to be a lot of broadcasts from Green Bay. I just don't know where those broadcasts are going to be yet. It's got to be beneficial for us to do the show. If it's not, then I'm just there to be there, to say I'm there. And that's really not fair to anybody, you know? So I do got a couple over on the text line, and this is from Stan. Stan says, watching from Southern California, can't stand it out here. Can't wait to get back home visiting relatives. Any advice out here in Southern California? Well, I don't know exactly where. Like if you're in San Diego, just enjoy the weather. If you're in LA, go over to the Santa Monica Pier. That's great territory. If not, God, go to the observatory up in the hill, up near the Hollywood sign. It's beautiful up there. At least you go up there, you get a chance to look down on the city and see the sights and the lights and all that kind of stuff, even though you don't have to, understand what's actually going on in the city. But that's the best I can tell you. So, Marcus says, have you ever been to Punta Cana? Because you guys are going to Punta Cana. We take a trip there every year. Have never been to the Dominican. Or we take a trip every year. Have never been to the Dominican. I have been there years ago on a cruise, but I've never been there like direct. As far as going to, it's really weird. You know the girl that's missing down there? That is I believe it's the same resort we're going to. That girl, that college student that went missing over spring break, and the guy and her were on the beach or something like that. And he was the last one to see her, and he's being investigated. I think that's the exact same resort we're going to. So, little morbid there, I guess, but I know one thing, that's going to be the safest place down there probably now with the security that's been beefed up. It's a 4-game series against the Reds. Okay, Gene, I forgot about that. I thought it was a 3-game series, so thank you for reminding me. Best supper club in Green Bay. Mike, you know what? I don't know about the best supper club, but if I'm going to go have fun, I go to Prime Quarter, where you pick out your own steak, you make your own steak. They've got the salad bar and all that stuff. It's old style, man. They still have brass kick rails around the bar. It's just old style, and I like that. There's some nice places over there in Green Bay. Don't get me wrong. There's some good steakhouses downtown and such, and there's a lot of places that I really enjoy. But there's something about getting your friends together, sitting down at a table, and then they say, okay, you can go to the bar, and you go and literally make your own steak, and it's fun, So, plus you get a chance to meet people standing around the grill. And then you make that giant Texas toast. You get to dip it into that garlic butter and then toast that on the grill too. Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Texas Badger, love you. Any thoughts on Yelich or Contreras trade at some point for starting pitching? I wouldn't trade either. I wouldn't trade. I know you first of all, it takes you a long time to find a really good catcher, and they've got one. I would not get rid of Contreras at all. As far as Yelich goes, but I'm not overly concerned. We're concerned about the pitching, but you've got 6 of them. None of them are down for the season. They're all rehabbing right now. Eventually, they're going to start trickling back. So I'm not going to start trading guys away for what could possibly happen in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Tom, hello from Minnesota. Go Brewers, he says. By the way, again, if you want to chime in on text message, you can. 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670, because I'm reading text messages there too. Everybody's got an opinion, which is great. I love it. Yeah, Rob Dog, watch Transformers, man. Watch Transformers. There you go. Will there be any way the Bucs get rid of that good-for-nothing head coach? After asking that, I think I need a doers highball. There you go, Jay. I don't think so. I just because they don't want to pay numerous coaches to do nothing and then go find another one. I don't think I'm not a Doc Rivers fan. I also don't control the purse strings. They've made some bad moves. But if it were me and I had more money than God, I would let Doc go. I would get on a full search, find me a really energetic, take no shit type of assistant and bring him in. Somebody that has respect, but yet can have accountability. And that's kind of the way I would do it. Sam wants to know what I think Eddie Lacy's up to these days. About 340. He's a big dude, man. Last I saw some pictures of him, he's a big dude. Rick says, reminds me of how much we miss the Wednesday night huddles. I know, right? Although I don't mind having to do it. It's one thing when you want to do it. It's another thing when you have to do it. I was hanging out at the house tonight. I ran down and got some stuff to grill and did that and was sitting here not doing much of anything. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go upstairs, clean out the studio a little bit, pick things up. And I thought, what the hell? So we just kind of threw it on. I got a text message here. This was from the Coyote. Coyote says, hey, Bill, I read your Facebook page. You deleted a lot of people. Why? Coyote, be honest with you, I got tired of the political crap. You know, when did it get to the point where someone wants to discuss, and I'm not going to get political, but they want you to discuss politics, right? And then you start reading it, and it's really not politics. It's just hate, whether it's hate for one person or hate for another person or hate for a judge or hate for whatever. So it was like, I just don't want to see it anymore. And the problem is, here's the problem. And I think we can all relate to this. Everybody has some type of vested interest, right? Whether you're a Democrat or Republican or a Libertarian or, whatever. Okay. And everybody's got something. So when you start to see this, you get some type of an anxiety, either a positive feeling, a negative feeling, but you start to get bombarded with the negative, right? And it is a fact, a psychological fact, that the more you bombard yourself with negative, the angrier and more anxiety you begin to engulf within yourself. And I can do that. I know it's kind of like I said today on the show, I said it's like an old Dirty Harry movie where a man's got to know his limitations. So I decided to rid myself of the negative because it's much easier to wake up and see friends of mine on Facebook that are celebrating birthdays or their kids are celebrating milestones or, there's maybe some positive sports related or something that we can all agree upon that even if we agree to disagree, we can still probably raise a beer glass to one another and have a good toast and then sit down and still be friends. There's certain areas anymore where people are just completely irrational. And I said this to a friend of mine who I ended up unfriending. And I asked him, I said, with everything you're saying 20 and 30 times a day, how many minds do you think you've changed? And his words to me were, I don't give a fuck. And I said, well, that's exactly the way people are starting to feel about you. So why do it? And then I thought to myself, why am I engaging with this? So I just started deleting it. And it's, it was a couple hundred people. It wasn't a ton. And then when something good happens or bad happens, people are quick to react. They're not rational. They just want to point the finger and say, aha, screw you. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need it. I don't need it. It's one thing if it's a true statistical reaction. It's another thing if you're just saying aha, F you, to say aha, F you, to try to make yourself feel better. And I'll be honest with you. And this, I was watching a psychologist on a show last night, and this psychologist was talking about people that are hypocritical. They will do whatever they want, but God forbid you do it to them. They will scream at you whatever they want to scream at you and call you every name in the book, but God forbid you do it to them. And it's usually those people that have some type of lower selfish image or esteem because they've got to be superior, they've got to be right. It's either a narcissistic trait or it's some kind of an inferiority trait. And you're never going to reach them in a legitimate discussion. Does that make sense? Like they've got some kind of problem from years ago where they were belittled or demeaned or something, and now they've got something to latch onto. They've got a group or a side or a challenge to latch onto that is going to make them feel superior. And that's not a person that I want to sit down and argue with. You know, I've got friends that are very much into politics, and I can talk with them about stuff. And they can be wrong and I can be wrong, and we can point it out to each other without all of a sudden wanting to get into a fist fight. So that's it. You know, that's it. So I got rid of it. Oh, it is a narcissistic trait, and that's the biggest problem we have. Part of it, to be honest with you. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying that specifically it alone, but I was, like I said, I was watching a psychologist last night who was just kind of mapping out where we've gone as a society and why. And it's a lot of people trying to feel like they fit in somewhere, so they find power in a group that can shout you down, right? What is it going to take to get the NCAA transfer portal and the NIL to make sense to both athletes and the schools? That's a great question. A lawsuit or some, and it's very difficult for coaches to walk off the job, but you've heard Gino Auriemma, you've heard Tom Izzo, you've heard other prominent coaches say enough. And while coaches have contracts and coaches travel, look, coaches can get out of a contract the very next year, okay? But there's a penalty to be paid for that coach. I think the athletes need to fall under the same contract. The problem is then they get the benefits that coaches get in their contracts, you know, health and medical and welfare and all, you know, that kind of stuff. And the institutions don't want to pay it. They don't want to do that, but they want to give you the NIL possibility. And look, it all comes down to money. It all comes down to greed. And I don't begrudge 1 minute a player that jumps to a higher paying gig. Not 1 minute. I do it. I think we all would do it. There is loyalty. There is some character within yourself. I agree with that. And some people have that, but I think for the most part, younger men and women are like fish. You know, at this age, you know what you're going to make if you don't go pro. You're going into whatever job it is that you're kind of studying for if you graduate at this point. So at this point, it's like being a fish. You jump at the first shiny object because you know that's going to get you the most right now. And then you may jump again and again and again. And there's no way to control it because it's the Wild West, because the NCAA was so effing stupid to begin with not to pay these people when they could have given them a stipend of some type. Instead, they wanted to hoard all their money and basically flip the middle finger to the athletes. And the athletes got the last revenge when they went to court and won. So now the entire NCAA system is stuck in a conundrum because they effed themselves. That's it. What else do we got? What else do we got today? This is good stuff. Jay, thank you very much. Susie, I can totally relate with every word you're saying about the negativity, etc. These posts are driving me insane. I completely agree. I have a small cafe in my hometown. They got rid of the TV because they saw so many people getting angry over politics. Craig, I get it. I get it. This one's from Scott. Says Tony Bennett walking away from the Virginia in his mid-50s was a real eye-opener as far as the NIL goes. Money, transfer portal, and one and dones in basketball. It's become sad. Yep, no doubt. Phil says Brewers pitching stepped up big time in the last couple of games. Big 4-game series this weekend with the Reds. Have been scoreless for the last couple of games. Go Brewers. And Freddie Peralta pitched a gem today, by the way. An absolute gem. Heck yeah. Big time. Tim, what's the best sub at Cousin Subs? I get the pepperoni melt. Extra mayo, extra cheese, and it's just fantastic. I get the pepperoni melt. If you really want to wash it down with something, then I wash it down with like a chocolate shake. But that's what my favorite is. They've got some other ones that are pretty good there, but that's my favorite, without a doubt. Let's go back to the text line. What do you think? Bill, I think you should have Kate do a segment tomorrow. It's time for her to get her feet wet, be a confidence builder for her. Rick, well, she'll be on. I don't know about doing a whole segment by herself, but she'll be on with me. Yeah, I'll pick her brain or let her have her voice be heard. Kate's really, really smart. And two things about Kate. One is I love the fact that she's willing to put herself out there. And in this business, it's so hard to find people that can do that because and it can be a little intimidating, but I love the fact that she's just willing to do it. If you've seen some of the posts on the Zone Instagram page and Facebook page and TikTok and such, and you follow Kate, she's willing to do almost anything out there. You know, she's talking, she's doing promos, she's setting things up and manning the booth down at the Deer District during the NCAA tournament. I mean, just, that's it. So I love that. And the fact that she's got intelligence to her is like a major plus. She's an athlete. She plays sports. So, and she's got a passion for this. So, I mean, she's got a passion for country music. She's got a passion for, doing all the different lifestyles in the music industry business and this business and radio and entertainment. But no, she's really good. So the one thing about that you have to learn in this business, I guess is the best way to put it, is you got to be you. There's a lot of people that want to talk phony, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but they come on the air and they're like, hey, we're here. And nobody talks like that. Come on, nobody talks like that. So you got to relax. And you really do have to act like you and I are right now. Like we are, even though we are sitting behind computers and phones and, mobile devices and whatever, this to me is like a friends in a bar talking sports or talking about whatever and opening up and telling secrets and all that kind of stuff. That's what this is. That's what this is. So that's why when you get comfortable in your skin in doing that, that's when you can really get good. And there's times like doing this, sports talk specifically, you have to have an opinion. And you have to feel something about it. And you also have to be willing to have an open mind to say, okay, convince me I'm wrong. And so you look at it and go, okay, I can understand the opinion of the other person without getting completely angry. Now, there's some things that just come across as dumb. So I always wonder if people are testing me, or if they're speaking that truth out of their mind, because you just look at people and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Where would you pull that out of your ass? So you kind of got to decipher at times with that, but no, Kate's good. We're going to have a lot of time together the next week and a half. Steven says, hey, I like bars and I like sports. Well, you've come to the right place then. Rick, it's always fun. Whenever we get a chance to chat, absolutely. Is LaFleur under the microscope this season? Tom wants to know. Yes. I don't know about a hot seat because I've said all along I don't think he's on a hot seat. But I think Goody said it's time to start to get serious about championships for a reason. That was pointed at somebody, right? It wasn't pointed at the fans. The fans have been ready for a championship ever since 2011. So it wasn't pointed at the fans. So when you say that, is that window dressing? Or is that directed somewhere? Or is that just putting the entire organization on notice? You know what I mean? Jake says, I live up in the valley, and the snow the past couple of days has me thinking, what if this happens during the draft weekend? Jake, it will suck. It will. If it's a snow, say it's okay. Let me put this at you, Jake. Say it's 30 degrees, no wind, got a like a humidity in the air, and it's something that we can all tolerate. It's no big deal for us in this area, but it's like a snow globe. That's not bad, right? Would that not be the epitome of Lambeau Field? Right? I mean, that would actually be kind of cool. Like, remember the game that Favre did the fireman carry of Donald Driver in that snow globe game? I think it was against Seattle. Remember that? No wind. It wasn't brutally cold. It was like 30 degrees, and it was just enough to make it snow. That'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic. But then again, so would 75 degrees. So, what else do we have? This morning was snow and icy on the roads, 43 and 41. Yeah, it was a Seattle game, Jake. Thank you very much. Let's see. 4 inches. You had 4 inches of snow today? Really? Holy moly. Tim says, I don't know if the new president, is he driven to make his mark? If yes, how long will he tolerate mediocrity? You're talking about ed policy. I don't know Ed real well. I don't. I've heard about him. I've got friends that know him pretty well. I've only known him to say hello to him and how you doing today? Good, kind of like ancillary stuff. I know he wants to win. I know he's got a passion for the team. But as far as his acceptance of mediocrity, I don't think any president's going to accept mediocrity, not in Green Bay. Every season has a circumstance. Some seasons are seasons that are great that shouldn't have been. Some seasons are bad that shouldn't have been. Some seasons are bad because of injury. Some seasons are bad because coaching was bad, play calling was bad. Coordinators were bad, assistants were bad, whatever. Some seasons go like that. But Ed's been in the building long enough to see the inner workings and behind the scenes for a long, long time. I get a good sense that he's got his arms wrapped around this. And let's be honest, I mean, everybody in this business knows you're only hired to be fired. It's the longevity in between that gives you legacy, right? What's on the Bill Michaels regulation hamburger? Sybil wants to know. Sybil, you really want to know what I like? Here's what I like. You take about 3/4 of a pound of meat, of ground beef, and in that, you then take like Italian seasoning and some garlic, salt. You pound it all together, right? You put it on a griddle. You put it on a griddle in Italian dressing, not olive oil. Put a little Italian dressing on the griddle, and you cook it in that at low heat, by the way. You get it to a little past medium rare. And then what you do is you take provolone cheese and put it on top and let it sit there a little bit. The cheese melts. And then what you do is you take big slices of pepperoni and you put the pepperoni next to that on the same griddle and you begin to fry it. Don't get it too crispy, but just enough so it starts to curl. You put it on the burger. You put another piece of provolone cheese on top of it. And then you top that with some really good marinara, almost like a pizza sauce. But I put marinara on mine. And then you smash it. That's my burger. Never expected that, did you? What else do we got? It's ironic. Jimmy Haslam gets involved with the Bucs, and they turn into the Browns. I don't know how they get out of this mess that they're in, and too many cooks in the kitchen. I think they've got 15 coaches and assistant coaches. If you've ever been to a Bucs game and you watch the coaches and such that are behind the bench, holy mackerel. It's crazy. Crazy. Jordan Love needs a huge year this season to justify the $50 million. He does need a good year. He does need a good year. Bill, you need some Texas barbecue. I love some Texas barbecue. I do like barbecue burgers. You make a good hamburger with like a jalapeno cheddar cheese or a good pepper jack on top of it and put some really good barbecue sauce on that. Oh, that's good too. Face first in that. Wisconsin Sports on the Go. What up? What up? There you have it. What else do we have over in the text line? Hang on. This is out of the 706. Dennis in Plover says, good evening, Bill. Question. I don't watch baseball that often, but how do the Brewers have so many pitchers on the injury list at the beginning of the season? Well, you have Woodruff, who's on the injury list from last season. You have, a couple of guys that got off to a rough start this year just for the fact that they ended up, lat strain, quad, or hamstring pull. So you got just numerous guys that are all right. And don't forget, last year you had the Tommy John surgery for Robert Gasser. So he should be coming back at some point from that. But you got a strained oblique, a strained lat, two strained obliques, I think, as a matter of fact. Aaron Ashby and Tobias Myers both have strained obliques. So it's just sometimes it happens early on in camp. And that, unfortunately, is what's happened. What else do we have? Come on. Anything. Any emails? I didn't even go to the emails tonight. Oh, this one's out of the 513. Oh, Dennis, my old buddy Dennis. He said having a beer down at the Holy Grail tonight. Looking forward to the Reds coming up to Milwaukee this weekend. Should be a lot of fun. Enjoy it. Dennis, you the man. Raise one down there at the Holy Grail. My buddy, who I went to high school with, Jim Mooring, is the owner of the Holy Grail and used to be a part of Caddies and everything down there on 2nd Street down by the old Riverfront Stadium. And we had a blast. We used to run down there during college days. And then they got rid of all of that. They blew up Riverfront Stadium, built Great American Ballpark and Paul Brown Stadium next to one another. And in between that is a place that is a big, big bar. It's a gathering place right between the two called the Holy Grail. And it's just awesome. So Dennis, enjoy yourself down there. And if Jimmy's down there, tell Jimmy I said hi. Love our buddy Jimmy. Absolutely. This one's out of the 303. And this is Cancer Dave. He says, do you think that Brett Favre is going to have any kind of an influence on Aaron Rodgers as to where he ends up going? And has Rodgers tarnished his own reputation? First of all, I don't think Brett Favre at this point in time is going to have any kind of an influence. No. I mean, what's he going to say? Basically he's down to one team unless the Vikings decide to pick the phone back up and call him. I do think it was interesting what Kevin O'Connell said, the head coach of the Vikings, when he said, yeah, Favre called us, we had a conversation, but I really like where J.J. McCarthy is. We like his progression and on and on. He basically put it out there saying, look, we didn't call Rodgers. Rodgers called us. So he's telling his young quarterback, we didn't call him. We weren't looking for another quarterback. You're our guy. And then he turns around and he says, I like what JJ's done. I like his progression. We feel really good about our guy. So in other words, yeah, we had a conversation, but it was Rodgers that called us. He's a 4-time MVP and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We should pick the phone up, but we really didn't have that big of an interest in bringing him in because we believe in you. So Kevin O'Connell handled that whole thing masterfully for what he put out there. As far as Rodgers calling Favre and saying, hey, what do you think? I don't. If that conversation even took place, I don't know. I mean, Favre's probably going, do whatever you can do or get what you can get. But I think ultimately Rodgers is going to end up in Pittsburgh. I've said it all along. Any of you react to the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie trailer? Crazy just came out. I have not seen it. Not seen it, Talem. How are we looking? Travis, nice turtleback shirt. Just noticed my kid has played there for Chippewa Falls High School for the last couple of years. Great course. Beautiful course. Love it. Love it. 100% correct. Love that place. We'll be at Turtleback for the Rice Lake Celebrity Golf Tournament this year coming up in June as well. So we're looking forward to that. Phil says Rodgers is the biggest waste of time in the NFL, but continues to make headlines. Rodgers gets off by the attention he gets from ESPN and the only network to polarize it. I'm sure he gets a kick out of people talking about it. It's really funny because he was always the guy that said that, oh, you know, I don't need all of that. Everything I do I want to remain personal, but yet there's enough out there and discussion. Now he doesn't instigate all of it, okay, but he leaves enough of the door open that people can look inside and then have judgments upon it. But he doesn't start all of it. There's a lot of people that are just remember when Favre ended up leaving and went to Minnesota, went to the Jets in Minnesota. Everybody was all over Favre too. It's the exact same thing. It was the exact same thing. Bill, what do you make of Ben Johnson's comments regarding Matt LaFleur? Seems to have zero respect for him. I don't know about zero respect, but I know that he was playing for the fans that he was facing, for the crowd that he was facing in Chicago. I mean, that's a big feather in his cap to talk like that. Now he's got to go out and prove it. Otherwise, he's just remember Lovie Smith did the same thing. You know, my number one goal is to beat the Packers. We're here to beat the Packers. We're going to beat the Packers. We start here, we beat the Packers. I mean, that's all Lovie Smith talked about, right? And then after that, he was able to beat the Packers, you know, and that's when he really gained the credibility until he just kind of beat his head against the wall and couldn't go any further, so they cut him loose. And after that, it's just been a myriad of crap. Mark says, I love the Vikings are sticking with McCarthy because he's not ready and we're going to be able to beat them twice. Detroit and Chicago are another story. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just going to be that simple to go in and say just because they have JJ McCarthy, they're going to beat them. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't believe that yet. I think they've got a really good football team. Rick says, do you know if Big Mike ended up moving back to Green Bay? His wife is from there, but they had already moved their kids to Dallas. I don't know where he's living right now. That's a great question. I don't know if I don't think they moved back to Green Bay. I don't think. But let's see here. What else do we have? I got more coming in. P.S. I was in agreement with you. I flew over Iceland. It looked nice. That's from Coyote Mike. This one's from Stan. No, it's Stan. We already got to that. This is Judy. Judy says, where are you in Punta Cana? Do you know the name of the resort? Yeah, I heard you talking about it. Is that the same place? Judy, maybe you came in on the tail end of the conversation, but yeah, that same resort where the girl ended up going missing. And again, I don't have the name of it in front of me, but I did a little research and that was it. So yeah, it's the same place. Rick says Big Mike still owns the house up there. Well, then maybe he did go back. Like I said, I know his wife's family's from Green Bay. Al, how you been, man? He says, what are some of the good behind-the-scenes stories that you're able to tell us in this particular setting? Oh, in all my travels? Boy, there were some good ones. There was, trying to think here, like what can I tell you that's a really good story of being on the road? I was one time when we were out in Phoenix, back when I traveled a game with the Packers, and I was at the same hotel. We were all at the same hotel, and Favre got in the elevator, and a group of people had gotten in the elevator before and I was on a higher floor. So these older people had gotten in the elevator. I got in. Then the next floor down was where the team was, and Favre and Red Batty got in. Red Batty was the equipment manager at the time. And we were going down, and Favre hit a button to get off. And Red's like, what are you getting off for? And Favre just says, I'm just going to get off here in a minute. And it was kind of weird. And he got off, and as he got off, it was it was a terrible smell. and he just crop dusted the whole elevator. So that was pretty funny. Um, there was one time, I'm not going to say what team I was with, where the broadcasters would stay on one floor and the team would stay on another. And there was some got into town into New York late one night, and there we'll just say was some people there that were waiting to party that were in our rooms, and they got sent to the wrong floor. So when I leaned out of my room and I said to the guy next to me, who was one of the broadcasters, I said, "Hey," because I walked into my hotel room and the light was on, which is weird because usually you walk into hotel rooms and there's no lights on. You have to turn the lights on. And my light was on. And I walked in and there was this girl sitting on the bed. I thought, uh-oh. And I kind of leaned out and I looked at the guy next to me. I said, "Hey, you got the right room?" And he's like, "What's on your pillow?" And I said, "Well, it's a bigger than a mint." And you heard one of the other guys going, "Sweetheart, you got to go," and they were all sent to the wrong room. So that was one of the more, but that we got into into New York that night at about 3 a.m. It was really late. I'm like, how does this happen? Right. So that was very detailless story that was a little more colorful on the road. But there's all kinds of great stuff. I mean, there's great dinners and fun that I've had with traveling with Wayne and Larry. We took them to a steakhouse in Cincinnati. That was a lot of fun. And hanging out with speaking of Greg Cook, God, when we went to Houston for the Super Bowl, Greg was doing radio down there, and Greg took us to a seafood place. Greg, a great guy, and just got into it with Houston fans and Packer fans and some of the other football fans that were down there for the NFL or for the Super Bowl. And it was awesome. It was really cool. So you get a chance, just the stories you get. Like when I told you I was at Combine and we were sitting in a place called Nicky Blaine's, which is a cigar place. And we're sitting in the cigar lounge, and in walks two general managers from other NFL teams. There's agents that are already there, and there are like their underlings, they're scouts and other people that kind of work with them, right? Without getting too detailed. And to sit there, and I was there with Solomon Wilcots of the NFL Network, to sit there and listen to the discussion. And I said this down there at the time, they have an interwoven tapestry of sports, of it's so intertwined into their being. And that's just what the conversation is. It was about everything from value of money and contracts and deals and and this guy, what this guy can do, and this guy's a pain in the ass, and this guy, he wants out, and he's gonna have to wait. We'll let him sit for a while. I mean, it's just it's then you listen to what they did behind the scenes and what players ask for and how they gotta give them what they need, and then when you give them what they need, they want more, and it's just so interesting to just sit back and all I did was sit there and smoke a cigar and have a drink. That was it. It was just, there was nothing I could add in that conversation. And it was just listening to the innermost personality and thoughts of these guys. It was fascinating. It just truly, truly was. It was fascinating. Steven says, when it's all said and done, you should write a book. Knock Gerard's book off the Weekly World Top News Top 100. Yeah. It was funny. I got another friend of mine, very, very prominent broadcaster, who was going to write a book, and he was paid. But once he started into the process of writing the book, some of the more prominent players that were more colorful that were in the book or would have been in the book paid him not to write the book because of what they didn't want to get out. I was in Arizona one time. There was a player for the Packers who was married and was going to Arizona to work out in the off season. And which a lot of guys go to Arizona or California, but he was going to Arizona. And I guess he'd had a dalliance there, and the woman he was with ended up becoming pregnant. And she was screaming to the mountaintop that she had a $1 million baby. and was telling anybody and everybody that will listen. So you see and hear a lot of things, and some stuff you make it. Some say I've always said if it doesn't affect the play on the field, some people they have a personal life. Now in today's day and age, it's kind of hard to have a personal life with a cell phone camera everywhere you go. But these guys have personal lives, and there's certain boundaries you don't cross unless they need to be crossed. And you don't do anything vindictively. You know, um, you got to weigh that. But and I still to this day have never told that story or told this player's name or past player's name. Never said it to anybody. It's just, but things happen. You see a lot out there. You know. What else? What else? Let's do this a little while longer. Good. What else? Who's this from? This is out of the 715. Don says, what are some of the cooler places you had to go to on the road? And what would you do all over again? When you say cooler places, do you mean like restaurants or nightclubs or because when I was on the road, especially when I first moved into town, back in 1999, I didn't go out to the nightclubs and stuff. What I liked to do at the time was try to get as close as you can with the broadcasters and the players and the PR staff, and and you just shared stories, or you just listened and gathered information, so to speak, in a respectful way, right? So I enjoyed doing. As far as some of the cooler places, oh God, there's been so many. There's been so many places that we've been, that we've eaten at. I'll be honest with you, a lot of the places that are really high end steakhouses and such, I enjoy them. They're good, but I like going to dive joints. You know, there was a place off of Cave Creek Road in Arizona, and I don't know the name of the Mexican restaurant, but it's in a strip mall, and it's behind the strip mall actually. And there was a woman there. God love her, she had to be in her 80s. She was probably something in her day, like just one hell of a senorita in her day, but she had to be in her 80s. She is still wearing red patent high heels and one of the longer skirts, and she was wearing one of those off the shoulder like tops, no bra, and it was just like, uh, but it's character, I love those places. And her son would talk to her, and she would talk to him, and you could clearly tell that they were yelling at each other. But the food was fantastic. But it was like a floor show every time you went there, and eventually she ended up passing away. But no, Stephen, she wasn't a gilf. She was just somebody where you went, oh God, really? It was like a caricature, that you saw when you went there. But the food was fantastic, and it was cheap, and you could have a couple of beverages, and it was just they treated you right. It was just such a good time. I enjoyed going to Vegas. Mike Clemens and myself and Kristen and Erica and Grant, we all went to Pino's, which was or Pinoirs or Pineros or something. I can't remember what the name of it is, and we're in there and we're sitting in the booth, and the guy's telling us the history of the restaurant. The restaurant was actually in the movie Casino, right? And behind us was a check, a handwritten check, and it was from the account of Jerry Lewis. And we were sitting at Jerry's private table. Jerry Lewis had wrote them a check to say, this is my booth. And they never cashed it. They just framed the check and put it there. And it was so cool to eat there. And then the booth next to us was where they shot one of the scenes out of the movie Casino. And then in the back room, that was where Jerry Tarkanian used to go and eat by himself. And it was called Tarkanian's Corner. And it was just places like that are so cool. So cool. Nicholas says, let's see here. How would you rate your experience at the Combine this year, specifically getting to sit with the GMs of the league? And comparison to Super Bowl? Super Bowl, that's a great question, Nicholas. Super Bowl is going to a pre-planned party, okay? Everybody's there hawking something. Everybody's got an agenda, right? Everybody is, you do your day job so you could get tonight, right? So you go in, you do your show, you book your celebrities, you book your guests, the whole thing, and all you want to do is get to the night, right? Because your first night is opening night. Get to the night, get to opening night. Then you get a chance to mix and mingle with all the players. You start to talk to them. You start to get their thoughts and everything, because the next couple of days are going to be pretty much on lockdown. Okay. Then you come back on Tuesday and you talk about Monday night. Tuesday night is media night. And that's where all the media go and let their hair down, right? And you're talking with everybody you see each and every year, the people that the relationships you've had for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it happens to be. We've been going there now 15 years, I guess, on and off. So you see the same faces. You get a chance to talk about the business in different areas. You get a chance to talk about their stations, our station, whatever it is they're doing, what we're doing. And you share a lot of broadcast ideas. Plus, you share agents' information. So you find out where that guy got that guest and how you want to get that guest on your show and this and that. Okay. So then Wednesday night is kind of a free night for us, which where we get a chance to just kind of go. Okay, the first couple of days are a whirlwind. Sunday you're setting up. Monday night is opening night. Tuesday night's media night. Wednesday night you want to breathe a little. Okay, so we usually get a chance to kind of go do our own thing. If Grant's going to go out, he's going to go out with different people, and Kristen and I will go out. Mike is going to go out, or we'll all get together and have dinner. Thursday night is pretty regimented. It's the honors night now, and then on top of it, you have got the Cigars with the Stars and the Star Parties. Those are on Thursday night because all the stars are in town and they're looking for something to do after the honors banquet. Okay. So you go there and then you get a chance to mix and mingle with everybody. This year we were sitting there talking to Urlacher and we were talking to all the different people that we had a chance to see on Radio Row. You see everybody from Emmett Smith. We saw Joe Montana. You see Jerome Bettis. I'm trying to think who else we saw. I mean, I can name drop all night long. But you get a chance to mix and mingle with those people and get some of those experiences. So then the next day is Friday. That's your last show. So that day, you're just trying to get whatever's left, trying to kind of put a cap on the week and put a synopsis together for everything you talked about and remember some of the best of, so to speak. Then Friday afternoon, you pack it up. Friday night, we always take everybody to dinner. Myself, Kristen, Mike, Grant, we all went to dinner. We just go someplace together just to sit down and just enjoy each other, because this is the last time we're all going to do this for the year, right? So Mike ends up staying, and then Kristen and I and Grant, we ended up flying back the next day. We caught our flight, we got home, and then we're in front of the television watching the Super Bowl on Sunday. The Combine, okay, it's just go there. It's like network marketing. It's just go there and be you as much as you can. That's it. You're talking to agents, you're talking to presidents, you're talking to team owners, you're talking to GMs, you're talking to scouts, you're talking to coaches. It's just football. The agenda is just to see for all these scouts, all these owners, all these general managers, just to see if what they saw on film is real, just to get the analytics. That's all they're doing, is making sure that the guys that they're eyeballing aren't bananas. That's it. And so when they got a chance to, and they're happy, nobody's won a game yet, nobody's lost a game yet, everybody's optimistic, everybody's got their agenda, but everybody's agenda is to find the best available players for their teams. And that's where they start to set deals about, hey, this is, we're going to need this. No, you need this. What you need that. This is what this guy's worth. Here's what this position's valued at. And it's just football. It's just nuts and bolts of football. And so I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And, a couple of nights, Mike and I had a chance to go out and have some dinner together, and that was great. And then Mike does some things, and I went off and did some things. And you're pretty much back in your hotel, or we were in an Airbnb that I rented. And we just got back by about 9 o'clock at night, because we're on Central Time down in Indiana. And we got to bed. It goes to Eastern Time, but it's pretty similar to here. But we were in bed by 9, 10 o'clock. Mike was still up doing a little bit of work, and then I was getting up the next day early and then heading back over. And like I said, you're sitting outside the door waiting to go in to the convention center to be able to, kind of get your show ready. And you've got all these players running up and down the hall, all these recruits and all these guys that are invited to the Combine. In the meantime, you're walking down the hall and, oh, there's Mike McDaniels. And he's talking to some of these, players that could possibly be Miami Dolphins. And he's everything you thought he was. He's a little goofy. And then he started laughing. I'm like, wow, that guy's got a cackle. And if he's laughing in front of his team, a bunch of big, giant machismo linemen, they're probably looking at this guy going, you're a nerdy weasel, dude. I don't know how you lead grown ass men into gridiron battle, but man. And then you run into, other coaches, you run into, other players, you run into former players and GMs. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So I know that's long-winded, and I apologize, but that's kind of how it is. That's the difference between the two, right? Have you been to Buck Knuckles outside Alma? If not, it's one of the coolest biker bars around. Perfect for one of the rides, especially if you have one around La Crosse or Eau Claire. I have not been, but Mike, I'm going to write that down. Buck Knuckles. Where the hell's my pen? There it is. I'll write it down, and hopefully, because we will be in Eau Claire and La Crosse this year. La Crosse is for the Big River Rally coming up at the end of June, so I'll be there for that. So there you go. I'll be in La Crosse a couple of times this year, beginning of June and end of June, for sure. Steven says, let's see here. No way I could do what Bill does. They'd have to send a search party after me after the first party, right? I'll say this. Because Kristen tells everybody this, because Kristen works with us. And she works her job for a couple of days, and then she comes and works basically for me for the last 3 days. But it's Super Bowl specifically is the hardest working trip. Oh, in the next couple of years, it's going to be terrible. And the reason I say that is because you have to remain on Milwaukee time. You have to remain on Central Time, okay? But yet you're on the West Coast. So the parties out there and the events don't start until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? Their time, which means it's 9, 10 o'clock here. So if you drive 45 minutes into the city to get to a party at 9 o'clock at night here, 8 o'clock there, you get into the cocktail hour, you don't even get into really the nuts and bolts of the evening, and you got to turn around and get back, because when I get up at 7 a.m. here, it's 5 a.m. there. So you're really getting up at 4:30 in the morning there, getting up, getting your shower, getting everything together, and then jumping in the car and heading in so you can be in by 6 o'clock their time, which is 8 o'clock our time. So you got a couple of hours of prep to get ready for the show that airs 10 o'clock here, which is 8 a.m. there. You know what I mean? It's West Coast time. Doing things on the West Coast sucks. East Coast, it's great because it gives us an extra hour. But West Coast, oh, God, I hate it. Hate it with a passion. Hate it with a passion. What else do we have? A couple more. Let's do this. A couple more. I asked during the stream today when the Wamandi bar was brought up, since it's a ridge over. I remember reading something, but I can't remember what time. Just so you know. Bill, where do you rank this Packers football team this year in the NFC North? Right now, I'd say tied for third. Give or take a game. Tied for third. You want my honest answer? Tied for third right now. This one's... I'm trying to read this one. I got a text message here. This is from Xander. Xander says, where have we been all of our lives? We are Wisconsin. Things have been ruined. Oh, you're talking about football. Okay. I was wondering where this whole thing was going. It's a long dive. Xander, that's a long one, man. Holy crap. He's talking about things being ruined, and it's all Luke Fickell's fault. And McIntosh is not picking great players, and he's not picking great representatives of the university. And okay. Xander, I give it probably another year or two and see what happens. So I am probably, it was before I was more faithful than I was hopeful. You know, if you put it into a percentage perspective, right? I was probably 80% faithful. Like, I've seen this work. I've seen, you know, Luke Fickell do his thing. So it's been pretty good. But now I'm probably 50-50 of hope and thought. You know, I've become a little skeptical, although I'm not fully skeptical, but I'm really hoping that they were able to kind of pull this thing together. Nice to hear coverage of WEAC today out of Grant, right? I think the WEAC system here in the state of Wisconsin is fantastic. And I'll tell you this, growing up in Ohio, there was no, if you weren't Division I, we didn't talk about you. There was nothing else, you know, nothing else in Ohio but football and basketball. And we had enough to go around, right? When it came to football, There was obviously Cincinnati and Cleveland were the two teams that, we talked about. We hated Cleveland, but more so than anything, it was the NFL and then some college football. And it was everything from Notre Dame to the University of Miami of Ohio, to Kentucky football, Louisville football, Ohio State football. We had all of that. Then you talk about the same things in basketball, and even more so. And the biggest thing football-wise really in the state of Ohio at the time, or at least the Queen City area that I grew up in, was high school football. High school football there is just massive. It is so huge. The GCL specifically, but some of the in-state rivalries are so big. And when you got high school stadiums that are 20,000 seats and they're selling out on Monday mornings for Friday night football games, it's such a big deal. So you had all of that and so much more. Plus, that town is more baseball oriented than it is football oriented, although Joe Burrow has certainly changed that. Because I've said, Joe Burrow is kind of the Pete Rose of football right now. He's the guy that everybody's getting behind. So it's just, there's plenty there to discuss, but growing up, that's kind of what it was. Tom says my wife is from Springfield, Ohio. There you go. Bill, what is your confidence level of Goody acing this draft? Like we all know he has to get the Packers to the next level. He has to find 3 guys. He don't have to ace it, but out of right now, he's got 8 draft picks. He has to find 3 guys. He has to find 3 guys. Has to find a wide receiver. Has to find at least a rotational guy, defensively speaking, via the edge. And he has to find another guy. And I don't care if it's a big left tackle. I don't care if it's another defensive lineman. I don't care if it's a lockdown corner. I don't care if it's another wide receiver. He has to find 3 guys. 3 guys have to really come in and perform for this team to have success. And then you have to say on top of that, obviously Jordan Love has to take that next step. So he has to find 3 guys. There you go. All right, we've been doing this a while. As a matter of fact, we've been doing it over an hour. Can you believe it? Over an hour. So give me what you got. A couple more questions, and then we'll call it a night. It's 8:45, going on 8:45. So we'll wrap it up because we got another show to do tomorrow. Anything? Come on, you got to have something. I love these chats. This is good stuff. I love these chats. You're welcome, Nicholas. Appreciate it. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Anything else? Nothing? Let's see if we got anything on the text line real quick. No, that's from Al. We already did that. Just scrolling. We got a lot of stuff tonight, which is really cool. I appreciate everybody chiming in. Almost bedtime, right? I'm not going to go. Rick says sent you a text. Al. You know what? Did I move? Oh, there it is. Think the Packers. Sorry about that. I was looking at the same thing. Think the Packers are going to draft a quarterback. Being Willis will be a free agent in 2026. I'd rather that they didn't and extend Willis, considering it's such a poor draft class. Not this year. They're not. You're not going to draft a quarterback this year because of that. Next year you could, but not this year. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And I'll be honest. I like Malik Willis. Who knows? I mean, God forbid that Jordan Love go down, but Malik Willis could get an opportunity, and improve his wares all over again. So there you go. Wamandi Country Bar from Cody. He said they've got a page, Facebook page in Buffalo County. You know what? I'll look it up. I promise you, I'll look it up. The minute I get off the air, I'll go look it up. Okay? So there you go. That's it. All right. I appreciate it. And thanks for chiming in. I had nothing to do, so you kept me company tonight, which is always great. Okay? So we're going to talk again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Don't forget, we're back in studio tomorrow. Kate's going to be producing. Grant is off to Iceland. And if by chance you are in the area coming up on Friday, we're going to be over at our friends at Marquardt RV in Columbus, Wisconsin. I can't wait. And If you haven't seen it already, go check out the Facebook page for the 2025 version of the Big Unit Cruiser, and you can come over and walk through it and say hello and all that kind of good stuff, and see where we're, because I know coming up in May and June, specifically the beginning of June, we're going to be on the road a lot. We're going to be going to a Loggers game, I believe, on June 3rd. On June 4th, we're going to be over at Celebrations doing a cigar dinner. On June 5th, we're going to be June 5th or June 6th. I think we're going to be in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, up there for the Junior Achievement Golf Outing, and then back to Milwaukee. So our first week is going to be a lot of travel. We're going to be at the IndyCar Series at Road America. We're hoping to get up, and do some stuff up at the NFL Draft coming up, obviously, at the end of this month. So we got a lot going on. We're going to be traveling around. So appreciate it. All right. Thanks to everybody for stopping by. I do appreciate you hanging out with us. And hopefully the next time we do this, tag a few people, tell some friends, and bring them into our party. All right. Talk to you later. See ya.